Hey, designers, let's create this thumbnail in Photoshop together. First, open Google and search for grid. Navigate to the Images section and pick the first option you see. Copy it, then head over to Photoshop and paste it by pressing Ctrl+V. Now, press Ctrl+T to activate transform controls. Hold down Alt while scaling to ensure the grid enlarges evenly. Go to Image, Adjustments, Invert to reverse the colors. Next, let's place our main subject. If the subject looks too pale, we'll fix that. Open the blending options and choose Hue/Saturation. Increase the saturation to make the colors pop. To ensure this adjustment affects only the subject, clip the Hue/Saturation layer to the subject layer. Hold Alt, hover between the two layers, and click when the arrow icon appears. Select both the subject and the Hue/Saturation layers, then press Ctrl+G to group them together for better organization. Create a new layer. Set black as your foreground color. To fill this new layer with black, press Alt+Backspace on your keyboard. Alternatively, use the bucket tool to paint the layer black. Change this layer's blending mode to screen in the blending options. Then, add a gradient map adjustment. Click on the gradient bar to edit it. Add a color to the center of the gradient, choose red, blue, yellow, or any shade you prefer. Finally, clip the gradient map to the black layer. You can clip it the same way as before, or use the clipping option in the layer panel. Now the color effect will apply only to the black layer. Set white as your foreground color and select the brush tool. Ensure that both opacity and flow are around 40 to 50%. Make sure to use a soft brush for smooth effects. Using a smaller brush size, apply random strokes along the edges of the subject. Focus on areas like the face, neck, shoulders, and any prominent edges. Feel free to adjust the brush size as you go, making it larger or smaller depending on the area you're working on. Here's a quick tip: when using white as the foreground color, the strokes will appear as highlights. If you make a mistake or want to erase something, simply switch the foreground color to black and paint over the area to remove the effect. Once you're happy with the strokes, let's enhance the design further by applying a filter. Go to Filter, Stylize, Oil Paint. If the oil paint option is disabled, I've linked a video at the top that shows how to enable it. In the oil paint settings, set stylization, cleanliness, scale, and bristle detail all the way up to 10. Adjust the shine as well to create a polished look. Next, select both the gradient map layer and layer 2. Hold Alt on your keyboard and drag them downward, placing the duplicates below the subject group. This will create a duplicate set placed perfectly below. Now, select the copied layer 2. Use a larger brush, this time with white as your foreground color. Apply a single click to reveal the red color effect, creating a soft and vibrant glow. Looks great! Next, let's create a new layer. Choose a blue shade for the foreground color. Fill this layer with the blue color either by using the bucket tool or by pressing Alt+Backspace on your keyboard. We'll apply a layer mask to the blue layer. If you're unfamiliar with layer masking, there's a link showing at the top. Check it out to learn the basics. Hold Alt and click on the layer mask icon to apply a mask. Select the brush tool, make it slightly larger, and gently apply brush strokes along the corners. This will create a soft and natural effect. Let's repeat the process with a new layer. This time, choose yellow as the foreground color. Fill the layer with yellow using Alt+Backspace or the bucket tool. Again, apply a layer mask by holding Alt and clicking on the layer mask icon. With the brush tool, apply yellow strokes in a similar way to add vibrant highlights. To blend these layers better, change their blending mode to linear light and slightly lower their opacity for a more subtle effect. Now let's add some text to our design. Select the text tool and type YouTube. Once the text is added, press Ctrl+T to activate the transform controls and scale it up. Adjust the position and size of the text until it looks perfect. Next, double-click on the text layer to open the blending options. In the Layer Styles panel, click on Bevel and Emboss and adjust the settings as needed. Enable the stroke option. Let's add some color to the text. Highlight the text and select a color that complements your design. Yellow, orange, or mustard tones work well. Now, let's duplicate the text layer. Press Ctrl+J to duplicate it. Move the duplicated layer downward and scale it down slightly by pressing Ctrl+T. Replace the text with thumbnail using the text tool. Since thumbnail has more letters, scale it down further to fit the canvas neatly. Adjust the position of both text layers until they're aligned perfectly. Once done, select both text layers and move them below all other layers in the panel, just above the background layer. Let's refine the text appearance. Select the thumbnail text layer and use the text tool to give it a white fill. Then, change the color of the YouTube text to a bright yellow shade. This contrast makes the text stand out beautifully. To add a final touch, create a new layer above the gradient map. Choose red as your foreground color and fill the new layer with red using Alt+Backspace. Apply a layer mask by holding Alt and clicking the layer mask icon. Now, select a small, soft brush tool. Use it to create strokes on the red layer mask, giving the effect of light rays emerging from the red layer. Gently brush around to create a dynamic and glowing effect. If you feel the red effect is too intense, you can easily tone it down. Switch your foreground color to black and gently paint over the red areas using the brush tool. This will erase some of the red effect, allowing for more balance. Once done, let's change the blending mode of this layer. Experiment with different modes to see what works best. I think overlay looks subtle and effective here. Now, let's add a YouTube logo to complete the design. Double-click on the logo layer to open the Layer Style menu. Enable Bevel and Emboss and increase the depth to give it a slightly 3D appearance. Press Ctrl+T to enable transform controls. Rotate the logo slightly and scale it down to fit your composition. Next, go to Filter, Blur, Motion Blur to add some movement. If you want a vertical blur, keep the angle straight. For a horizontal blur, adjust the angle accordingly. Duplicate the YouTube logo layer by pressing Ctrl+J. Use Ctrl+T to transform the duplicate, rotate it in the opposite direction and move it to the other side of your design. This creates a balanced and dynamic look. And there you have it. If you found this tutorial helpful, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to Ace Design for more content like this.